Hello and welcome back to... I forgot, I changed the intro. What is it? To the Lower Decks review, whatever it is, where the new episode just popped up, back there. Finally out of the leper colony, in a proper dorm, with a proper set, with all the film equipment practically sticking under the bed, you know, college dorms. I'll try and keep this bit short, because I'm quite tired. I didn't sleep a lot last night. I have to wake up early tomorrow morning, which means I'm not going to sleep a lot tonight. Yeah, I think the only big thing is, as you can probably tell, I think I've sorted out my computer problems, so we should be back on regular videos. We only delayed one video by one day, but we should be good. That being said, second to last episode of Lower Decks. Next week, there will hopefully be a Monday video. I haven't actually done it yet, and I do need to focus on Poorly Explained, so there's a chance there just won't be anything Monday. Of course, next week there'll be a normal review on Thursday. Then there will be a normal video. There's actually a video planned for every day for the next 3 months, except for the day Poorly Explained is supposed to happen in next week for Mondays. There just won't be a Thursday video in 2 weeks because there's no new episode, but then this is being replaced with the Prodigy reviews in exactly the same format. So yeah, as the wheels are slowly turning, getting ready for the changing of the guard, let's just see this episode of Lower Decks. I don't plan these. I'm tired. I'll see you there. Didn't record any of that. Okay, we're both recording. Good. I am not going to bed early tonight. That was an amazing episode. One of the best we've had for quite a while. It had everything. It had good focus, direction, good pacing, everything. I loved the premise. It had so much the fan base loves. I love the Lower Deck spot on other ships, just as a premise. But also, seeing the inner workings of the alien ships is something a lot of people talk about for ages, because we really only get that Federation perspective. Vulcans are Federation, but, you know, the Starfleet perspective. There were also countless amazing references. The references were amazing this week, on point, very well done. I noticed one of them, they had everything from, like, the little, what is it, the sexy game from TNG. It doesn't have, it's just the sexy game. I don't know what it's called. I love how many people get the sexy game. Like, yes, very, very Trek. Very firm stances on the color of Klingon blood. Beautiful Vulcan ships. Eagle Moss, please get over your racism against animated ships. And also, definitely building up to that finale. I caught on earlier. I can't remember the name now. There was the something bomb, the V something bomb, that the Packleds have been trying to get, where the finale looks like it's definitely going to be them trying to use that against Earth. Because they got the bomb, didn't they? They beamed the bomb over before the Klingons left. And I love, because you start out with just that great Lower Decks, and then when the Klingons started helping the Packleds and they showed up, it's like, it's the finale time. The finale of Season 1, you know, when the Packleds showed up and that, it just, you know, shifted into full gear, and it's like, right, finale time, like, from then on out. That, from, like, the Klingon meeting, not as intense, but that felt like, alright, finale time. Yeah, great. And I'm very much looking forward to another, yes, full throttle finale. I'm looking forward to when Earth is in danger and the entirety of the Federation is at threat stake. In 2021. Lower Decks is doing the impossible. I also liked how they were kind of mimicking themselves, where that battle with the Klingons and Packleds was really reminiscent of the final battle with the Titan, the Cerritos, and the Packleds. It was the TMP music. Yeah, TMP specifically, rather than, of course, TNG. But everything. I loved everything about it. And that's on the broad scope. Down on the smaller scope, I love the interactions between the characters. I think they all make sense. I thought it was a bit weird that Rutherford was doing something with Shax at first, but then, of course, Shax died for him. And then there was the mention of, like, again, I love how they keep bringing up, is it Papa Bear? Baby Bear. Yeah, it's Baby Bear. And I think Shax is Papa Bear. Why can't I remember that now? But anyway, I love how they keep bringing that up throughout the series. Rutherford's, like, 5 minutes of being part of the Bear Pack. My gripes are pretty minor. The one I think it's worth bringing up was the one pairing I didn't like was Freeman and Mariner, for the simple reason that something I've always wondered, actually, I say always wondered, something that's crossed my mind as always a bit of a curiosity, is if Star Trek was able to basically cure periods or period cramps. And Mike McMahon has just decided, or someone in Lower Decks has just decided, like, nah, let's just canonize that that's still a problem. It's like, wow, you could have done some good. There you go, that's my gripe. There's a good chunk of the voice cast I felt I recognized as well. The Klingon first officer / captain, the bad Klingon guy, really sounded familiar. I couldn't quite place him, though. And there were a few... I thought I heard Worf on the Klingon ship at one point, but I'm sure... Michael Dorn, I'm sure that's just my imagination. Anyways, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some legacy Trek actors that I just haven't clocked on. But yeah, this is just the peak Lower Decks I've come to expect. Amazing premise. One that I hadn't necessarily clocked on myself is, you could do Lower Decks but on other aliens, like such other alien ships. Such a simple idea that is just brilliant. You wouldn't really think of it. And I think they nailed the cultures. I think the Vulcans, they went a bit too pop culture Vulcans. Maybe it was a slightly fanatical ship, but they felt like Enterprise Vulcans, not just because of the ship, but of course the one troubled Vulcan, which, by the way, totally moving to the Cerritos. I'd be very surprised if we don't see them on the Cerritos. The sort of correct, and I don't want to go to an entire planet of a culture and say this is the correct version, but the correct interpretation of Sarek's teachings is, and has always been, emotion informs logic. That has always been Sarek's teaching in every iteration. And it's also, I'll concede, generally been something that only, like, the equivalent of, like, very high up clergy and very dedicated religious Vulcans would have understand or shown. The best example I always point to is Tuvok's mentor, and this will become a video someday, I'm sure, but I love Vulcan society as it's written there. And I just felt these Vulcans were a bit too on the pop culture perception of Vulcans equal logic, no emotion. And I can sort of understand why Lower Decks would take that approach, but I'm also disappointed in Lower Decks not seeming to understand that nuance that is shockingly misunderstood in the fandom as well. Like, I think it's a general understanding there, but so many people, if you're listening to everything I've just said and you're surprised or you don't believe me at all, it's honestly, just go watch the series again, because it's flat out explicit in Enterprise, in Voyager. I'm pretty sure in the Next Generation. Deep Space Nine never really deals with Vulcans. Surak himself tells you, like, it's explicit. You might say the cultures diverge from Surak's teaching. Sure, I mean, obviously it has, and you may say they shouldn't have to stick directly to it, but if you want to say that you're following Surak's teachings, the correct interpretation is emotion informs logic. I've clocked it when I've paused. We'll talk about the Klingon ship in a sec, but I thought the whole font on screen was a bit off. I couldn't quite tell why. I don't know, it was just a bit weird, but also the coloring is off, and I've just clocked on. The text is off. I thought it was a different font. That's the TOS logo font. I recognize it paused, because that's the font I spent hours trying to match for my thumbnail designs. I found the perfect thumbnail, perfect font, which it takes hours. It's like all I do that day. I did 2 thumbnails with it, and then you might have noticed I changed my font to something worse. That's because after 2 thumbnails, they didn't get rid of the font. They changed what the font looked like. It was the exact same font, looked completely different and so much worse. Which, by the way, has happened to every single font choice I have ever made. I'm pretty sure this was the 4th time the font has changed from under me. It is very, very, very annoying, Photoshop. Why do you do it? I think I knew this was going to be a good episode at this screen right here, because I mean, it's just the Cerritos turned Klingon. You clearly have the bunk beds, but the thing that really sold me was Shower Guy. He's a character I don't think we've seen in season 2 at all. I don't think we've seen him a lot. He was much more prominent in season 1. I miss Shower Guy, but yeah, that's about the time I knew I was gonna like this episode. I'm also suddenly probably gonna start talking a lot quieter because it's late, and I think I might be starting to annoy neighbors and roommates. I don't know how thin these walls are. I noticed as well, just with this scene halfway through, that Lower Decks continues to do the impossible and actually make a holographic interface system that doesn't absolutely suck. I didn't even clock it. I'd probably use it, but it's not perfect because it's still transparent screens, but it seems to understand that maybe, just maybe, users don't want to, semi-transparent screen. And so, it's got the black borders and it's very thick and everything. There was something else. Doctor Who, I was watching, the 2005 Doctor Who, Journey's End, The Stolen Earth, had the Daleks popped up a holographic screen at one point, and it was completely opaque except around the edges. It was just an opaque hologram a la the Next Generation style. And I was like, finally, we used to know how to do it right. Where did we go wrong as a society? It's one of the high quality episodes where even the sort of obvious or easy jokes don't land. We're like, yeah, obviously Boimler's gonna mess up Tamarian and really insult Kayshawn, but just the punchline of like, it's hard to lose weight when you can replicate any food you want, is just fun. I love it. What is that? I've just seen his thumb. How have I never noticed the Tamarian thumb before? I mean, I probably have. I just forget about it every time I watch, not the Inner Light, Darmok. Every time I watch Darmok. But anyway, this is the guy right there who had sexy game. And also in this scene, there we go. This has actually been in a few episodes. It was pointed out. I think the Canon references post on Reddit pointed out. But you have the officer in the thing that has so many different names. I always think I'm going to call it the wrong name, even though it's one of the right names. I think it's a hijab, but the Islamic headwear, which is another one. Modern Star Trek has it a lot. Non-overtly religious characters, but make religious, modern, present day, you know what I mean, characters of the time, humans of the time with religion, which has never been expressly stated in Star Trek, but is getting harder to argue against. My money is on Pike. My money is that they're going to make Pike overtly religious in Strange New Worlds. I would bet quite a bit on that. I'm saying it on the internet, so that's a bet. I mean, it's inevitable, the day where some human character is overtly religious, which is why I'm going to skirt the topic over until the episode where a character mentions it, and then it'll be incredibly controversial. So I should probably talk about it now, but I'm not going to. It's good having Shax back, though, because this is the proper Shax I was talking about. I loved him making pottery. I loved him freaking out about Bajor, just going absolutely crazy. But then very quickly, I mean, it's not an original idea, but I do. It's often fun seeing it executed, like the big, angry weapons guy, the Shax, the Worf, who's then doing some sort of delicate, craftsy art thing of I'm gonna make a ashtray for my, I don't remember, it wasn't smoking, and it's gonna look like a pretty puppy. It's Yeah, again, just all little jokes and skits landed. I think that's honestly Lower Deck's strength, is they have a writing team that can do the character development, the arcs, the everything, yada yada, but like better than any other Star Trek team, current Star Trek team. But they can also do the skits, the short little scenes, and the comedy skits. I mean, the combination of the two is really important, especially for a show like that, and that's why Lower Decks is so good. And its best episodes are when they're nailing both. This scene worries me a bit because I swear Dr. Tiana had like a full-length tail, and I don't recall her losing it. Also, yeah, this is obviously obviously it's actually a completely original scene that has never appeared in any Star Trek production whatsoever. Similar to Anthony, of course. But yeah, nice to see a completely original and unspoofed scene such as this one and Lower Decks whatsoever. What was it I was talking about last week? Make sure that we never forget the parts of canon we wish we could. I just clocked on. I don't know why. The Cerritos has a Deep Space Nine-ish style holodeck. Not quite, because I'm pretty sure Deep Space Nine had little yellow bits right there on those X's. It certainly had yellow highlighting. Don't ask me why this is knowledge, I just know. Which is interesting, because Lower Decks also has a TNG style holodeck. Oh, and I have always vastly preferred the Next Generation style holodeck. Do I have to explain myself? That's just the right answer. That's a brilliant face on the one closest me. But I feel this scene was written for a lot of people going to Memory Alpha like, oh, Jack Quad? No, Ransom. It's because it's Jack Ransom and the actor is Jack Quad. That's why I'm always messing it up. But yeah, people going to Ransom's Memory Alpha page going, oh, born Hawaii. And then, late at the end of the episode, just, no, born Tycho City, I think it was, or was that the other woman? I don't remember. And then, of course, they can still keep writing great Packlet jokes, because testing the bomb and then being unable to do it again is up there with banging the saw blade against the door. I love when Lower Decks can write the Packlets right. It's brilliant. It's one of those very specific writing styles that I think would be very hard to do, but I'm so happy whoever they have write the Packlet dialogue can do it. The other one that's always like that is, I'll use Peridot, and dang it, her poster is the one above this out of frame. Peridot from Steven Universe, that's the type where the techie person who always over-explains and overcomplicates things. And they have like really big speech patterns. Like, God, I'm sure I can't think of a good example, but that's it, because it's so hard to write and so hard to do. But some people could just do it, and it's amazing when they can. I also love the joke of Freeman's Ritos t-shirt, which is, of course, parroting the absolutely stupid and atrocious disco shirts, which I'm convinced the people in Discovery only wear shirts that just say the word disco on them, and Star Trek is really pushing such a dumb official promotion, especially in universe, because their 3-letter acronym is clearly STD. And once I realized that in like 2017, I was like, oh, disco makes sense now. Hey, look, TNG holodeck. But yeah, that was another thing, is I loved about this, that it is sort of in the back of their mind, like it's kind of weird that everyone's always in a uniform, but in the like Red Alert Crisis situation, sure, like you might have the captain or the character we followed would go to the bridge not in their Starfleet uniform, but Kirk did it in the Go Climb a Rock shirt, but it was only ever the characters we followed. And this was like, no, this was like the middle of a week-long warp trip. Everyone was having their leisure time. No one was expecting to be on duty, let alone in an emergency. So when an emergency hit, everyone's in like completely random gear pertaining to like holodeck stories or workouts they were doing. The only people who were in uniform are like the people who were on duty already. And I love that. Just really making it feel like a ship. It's amazing, again, with Lower Decks. And I love that they did it. I did like the brief glimpse into the Packlet Lower Decks, though, as well. And I'm trying to get a good shot, but just the ships in this episode were gorgeous. The Bird of Prey was excellently modeled. Of course, not an original design for the show. But, like, the Packlet ships, the Vulcan ships, obviously the Cerritos we've talked about before. Like, Eagle Moss, please just make them. I want them way more than the Picard ships you do make. Could you imagine being the poor guy, though, that's gotta clean up the tactical console after Shax gets, like, pottery all over it? But yeah, so much shit set up for episode 10. You had the Vulcan setup, which I'm positive she's coming to the Cerritos. Or at the very least is being set up to show up. You had the Klingon. Like, obviously there's something coming to head with the Truth going up to the Klingon Empire, the Federation going... Like, there's clearly big international conflict can happen there. And especially with the Pakleds or some sort of alliance, like, huge international deal. Intergalactic deal is coming up. I don't... They're limited, I think, on what they can do as lower decks, because off the top of my head, about 13 years from now, Picard is going to happen. And if Klingon Federation relationships have completely collapsed, we probably would have heard about it. Still, yeah, it's definitely... If the season 1 finale did that, like went into full gear, then this episode is in the process of moving forward. Like, you can definitely feel us setting all the pieces in place. Why have I paused at this frame? Because I don't know who that is if not a Section 31 agent. No rank either. This person has duties on the ship. If you let it play, you'll see, like, this guy clearly talked to Ransom. And if I let it, like, Ransom acknowledges, like, yeah, I sent that guy to Boimler. And if I let it play a bit more, you'll see back at that table, there's 3 more of them. But that's a brand new uniform. It does look vague, like, it says Section 31 to me. Everything, especially the guy, is like, this is who Section 31 who have chosen to get to Boimler. He had no rank. They don't appear to have any rank at the table. Like, I feel Section 31 is getting involved for something in the finale. Or this is some sort of Wesley, like, costume parody. But he's got... I don't know. It just screams Section 31 to me. I'm actually going to briefly hop on the Reddit again to see if the collective is noticing a little bit more than I am. That Borg Cube 90182 from the Nerd Chaplain, is a zip code for Los Angeles. Lower decks. No one's mentioning it, which means it's my idea if it turns out to be Section 31. I like it, though. We've got all our chess pieces in place, but I don't really know when they're going to go with it. I expect, that the general plot is Pakleds bringing bomb towards Earth, right? It's general setup. But is the Cerritos even involved in that? I mean, probably, because the show is the Titan going to come back? Is Section 31 involved? Are the Klingons involved? Are the Klingons going to be against the Federation or with the Federation and all this? Like, it's great. I love that. Whereas if we compare it to the live action shows, there's the mystery box answer that no one could possibly have ever seen coming. But then, you move all your pieces into place, and then you're like, all right, next episode is now the big giant battle. You know how it's going to go, by and large. Even Season 3, which had the wonderful bit with Osira and the Admiral, ended with, him refusing the deal. I won't go into that scene too much because this is Lower Decks review. And then everyone was in place for the giant battle. This is still going to a battle, but like that last battle with all the different ships in this episode, there were 4 ships in that battle, and I loved it. Like, it wasn't a massive battle. It was classic Star Trek. I think I'm gonna call it there a bit earlier than I thought, but also I'm aware of the times and how loud I'm being, and I've gotten to the point where I'd probably just be rambling forever if I kept filming. So I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next week for the final episode of Lower Decks, Season 2. Thanks for watching. I think I've done that bit already.